And could we have a roll call vote for the city, please?
Yes. Council members Erickson.
Here.
Erpenbach. Here. Kiley.
Here.
Neitzer.
Here.
Rolfing. Selberg.
Here.
Starr.
Present.
Staley.
Here.
The quorum is present.
Okay, if you could all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, on the county side, I'd look for approval of the regular agenda.
That's second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
May I have a motion on the city side?
Move to approve, Erickson.
Second, Salberg.
Okay, roll call vote, please.
Council members Erickson.
Yes.
Erpenbach.
Yes.
Kiley.
Yes.
Neitzer.
Yes.
Selberg.
Yes.
Starr.
Yes.
Staley.
Yes.
And the agenda has been approved.
Okay, thank you. So that takes us to item number 1. We'll be considering a motion to approve proposed change orders, and I believe Bill Hoskins is here if anybody has any questions.
Good evening. Bill Hoskins, Director of the Siouxland Heritage Museums. I'm here tonight, with a little update on this progress of the collection storage building. The project is moving along. At the September meeting, you approved a change order, actually RFP number 2, which was removing a security fence from the project. That was a savings of just over $8,000. Tonight I have 4 different change orders. I'm going to handle, the first 2 are deduct change orders, lowering the cost of the project. One is actually changing the type of flush valve in the toilet. That will save $255 in the project. And that's changing from a concealed flush valve that's in the wall to a manual flush valve that's on the toilet anyway. RFP 4 is a deduct change order in the amount of $1,194. And this is, there had been spec'd stainless steel corner guards and on the wall corners, and the architect asked if we really needed those, and we don't, and so we're recommending the removal of that from the project as well. The third change order, which actually I guess started as RFP 1.3, is a change order that will increase the project by $15,657, and that's to construct a temporary gravel road. This was originally in the project as it went out to bid. For some reason, when the Addendum 1 came out prior to the bid, this was taken out of the project, and the contractor really needs the temporary gravel for access through the winter to ensure to the site. And the architect is recommending the acceptance of that change order. Change order 5 is one I'm actually excited about. It is in the amount of $3,693.11, and it would be to upgrade the entire lighting package to LED, which will have a long-term cost benefit to the operational expenses, lowering those in perpetuity for the structure. And the architect recommends the addition of that. If you accepted all of these change orders, in addition to the one you approved in September, we would have an increase in the project as a whole of $9,669. And I am informed by Olivia and Denise that if you wish, if you don't have any specific questions or want to break them up, you can handle approving all of these in one vote.
Are there any questions? Councilman Neitzer?
I have no question specifically about these change orders, except to say it's very good to see the LED light decision. That's very, very good. The question I do have is, are these causing you, having to get approval for all of these, causing you any problems in real time, or is these things that are coming down the pike?
As of yet, there's been no project delays whatsoever, and none of these change orders will result in any kind of additional time for the project.
Okay. My only concern was that you had, if you have contractors standing around waiting 2 weeks for us to approve a toilet valve or something.
Right. That hasn't happened.
Okay. Very good.
Commissioner Karski?
I'm going to pursue that same line of thought as Councilor Neitzer. One of the change orders is for a temporary gravel access road that, if we had a Halloween blizzard or, a major amount of snow in the last month, that could have really impeded construction on the process. Fortunately, that didn't happen.
Not yet.
Not yet, no, but...
No, but it's where they are in the project and how they can get in. They have an alternate way in, but by spring into winter, it's going to be different.
Yeah, but if it was a sloppy, muddy mess out there, it could have made a difference. My thought is, and this is probably more of a discussion, is the county commission here in the last couple of years went from having every change order submitted for construction projects, road and that type of thing, needing to be approved by the full commission to being approved by the liaison to that department and the commission head, the commission chair, I'm sorry, for those items under a certain dollar amount. In this case, it's $50,000. We have a contract between the city and the county that says all change orders have to be approved by a joint board. I don't know if there's interest or what the process, how long it would take to change that, just for expediency, for common sense, that type of thing. If we set a dollar amount to say $25,000, anything less than $25,000 can be approved by a representative that's named of the city council and one of the county commission. So we can just keep this process moving so that it doesn't slow us up. So I'm putting that out there for discussion amongst the members of these boards up here. If anybody else would like to add to their thoughts on that, I'd appreciate it.
Commissioner Barth?
Thank you. That absolutely is what we need to try to do. At the same time, it's not on our agenda for today. And when we sign or make deals in the future where we are jointly working on projects like this, we should make sure to include that provision that the manager of the project and maybe that the team would be 2 council people and 2 county commissioners plus a department head of some kind. But I'm not sure we can make that change at this time. And
not tonight.
Maybe we should consider at our next meeting, which is something like January 23rd, we should make that as a agenda item there.
And I'm sure it would take action by the city council to change the ordinance, because I asked, how did this get added to the contract between the two? And of course, the city attorney, the state's attorney sat down and drew a contract up, and it says change orders need to be approved, and everybody votes on it, and that's what we get to live with now. So it's up to us if we want to change it to make that change.
Commissioner Heiberger?
I would be ready to make a motion on the change orders that are in front of us. So with that being said, I'd make a motion to approve the change orders that Bill has brought forward.
And I'll second it.
There's a motion and a second on the county side. Is there any further discussion?
Uh-oh.
If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
May I have a motion on the city side?
Move to approve all 4 change orders.
Second, Erpenbach.
Okay, roll call vote, please.
Council members Erickson?
Yes.
Erpenbach?
Yes.
Kylie?
Yes,
Neitzer?
Yes.
Selberg?
Yes.
Starr?
Yes.
Staley?
Yes.
motion passes.
Okay, that takes us to the second and last item on our agenda. I believe we have Stacy Teason here to give us an update on the Hunger and Homelessness Awareness Month. Good evening.
Good evening. Thanks for letting me be here. I am Stacey Tees, and I'm the coordinator for the Homeless Advisory Board, which is also a joint city-county effort to work to end homelessness in the community. So I just wanted to take a couple minutes as November's winding down to share with you some of the things we've been working on or what's come to fruition over the course of the month. And so with that, the big thing is of course, I can't do it by myself. I work pretty hard, but ending homelessness and preventing homelessness is definitely a team effort, so the board needs to have some recognition on that behalf. And then also just the community as a whole has really come together. I've seen so many posts, so many positives. It's just been an incredible month of experience, and I'm kind of new to social media. I don't really do it that much, so just watching things get shared and posted and all the press that's taken on stories, and then the changes that have come from that with even just like recently for Thanksgiving with the banquet, getting the biggest number of donors that they've, or the about a large amount of donations for their Thanksgiving run. So just that overall presence in the community of people recognizing that hunger and homelessness exist in our community and that there are solutions to some of that. One of the things that I wanted to talk about tonight that I was most excited about pulling off was our landlord engagement panel. We've never tried one of those before, and of course the thing we know the most is in order to get people housed is you have to have property managers, landlords who are willing to rent to our people who have maybe some non-stellar credit or maybe some criminal background issues that they can't get housed, or maybe just in general they're struggling. And I think that that's the thing that we kind of miss out on a little bit is we don't recognize the fact that we have people who are doing everything right and still can't get themselves housed. We have people who are working very hard, who are working 2 jobs, who have situations that have just kind of come up, and unfortunately that resulted in their ending up homeless. So with that engagement panel, we had 4 property managers who were willing to come. Well, I only asked 4, so all 4 of them said yes. But the purpose was really to learn about their rules, their guidelines. We hear a lot about the background checks that need to be done, and those are upwards of $60 for application fees these days. So when you're asking someone who's currently homeless to pay $60 for an application fee to maybe get denied anyways, that money isn't refunded back to them when they get denied. So we're looking at that, but just the guidelines, the rules, regulations that property managers have. I mean, some of our property managers in this community have upwards of 5,000 to 6,000 properties, so they need to maintain consistency. And then the other thing was to have them share with us things that they see. And I don't think that we give them enough credit. They really do work hard to keep our people housed, but sometimes situations come up and unfortunately people end up having to be evicted. So we asked those, we had about 50 people in our audience with the panelists, and we just had them share a little bit about the things that they were experiencing. And with those panelists, I had 2 that were felony friendly. I don't know how to say it more positively, but felony friendly. And then 2 that were much more consistent with what they do for their background check, maintaining the HUD Fair Housing Guidelines, as well as keeping in mind the new regulations that were put into place last year, with HUD really recognizing that you can't just do a blanket criminal background check and make a decision. You have to kind of take into consideration the length of the crime or the distance from the conviction, how long someone has been free from committing any additional crimes. And that's just really the whole fair housing piece of it. So I thought it was pretty impressive. They did a great job. It was over an hour of conversation, and people from the audience participated, asking questions. And I think the thing that we learned the most, and I think that some of you have been experiencing it, is the lack of supportive services for our folks experiencing mental illness or having mental health challenges. And so with that then, if someone is becoming belligerent, is threatening the property managers, is threatening their other tenants, unfortunately sometimes what ends up happening is an eviction proceeding gets started. And so without knowing who to call or where to go or what other resources are available in the community, those property managers really feel stuck. No one wants to make someone homeless. So they've really tried hard to prevent that as much as possible. But when they don't know who to call or who to turn to, or perhaps the services that we do have aren't adequate, or of course we have to take into consideration people's choices. As an adult, you can refuse service. You can refuse. And so sometimes we have people who are untreated, who are not taking their medication, who are not doing what they should be doing to be well. And so with that then, unfortunately, they wind up at the shelter or on the streets, in their cars, in motels, and we'll definitely see people at motels because that's what happens. They can barely afford to stay at the motel, but that's where they're at because there's not a whole lot of other options. I think one of the largest barriers that we see are people who have sex offender, who are registered on the sex offender registry. Unfortunately, we've got a lot of spots where people they can't live in this community, as well as landlords who don't really take that on too willingly. So they are kind of stuck if they're experiencing mental health issues and they're also on the registry. They have that felony record. They're not probably earning much for income, or they might have Social Security. So they just get stuck in that little quagmire where it feels like there's not a lot of hope or a lot of options for them. And so with that, then, we need to figure out if there's more that we can be doing to help them, but ultimately they also have to be willing to help themselves. It's a twofold street. So with that, then the landlords also asked a little bit from us. They would like a panel presentation to learn about services, to learn about access to some of those services. Not everyone knows that you can, if you qualify, you could go to the County Human Services office and make a request for help with your rent. So just getting them in touch with the resources, and also they asked a little bit more of a resource guide. We have one for our homeless folks, and the 211 obviously is out there, but not everyone knows to call the 211, and not everyone knows that those resources are available in the community. So overall, we'd probably look at hosting these landlord engagement panels again, probably more often, get more involvement. One of the things that we've been working on is a landlord risk mitigation fund. Sounds impressive, but really trying to find out how to get people housed. Like, what would it take? Do you need damage deposit? Do you need 2 months rent guaranteed? What would it take to keep people housed? And we've really been working on that in regards to our drug and DUI courts. So we'll see some things that come out of this hopefully in the near future in regards to that. The South Dakota Housing Development Authority and PEER has been crucial in helping build some of that funding and create a mechanism for us. So we'll talk about that more probably next month when we've got all the details finalized, but it's something that's happening across the country, and it's a pretty exciting way to look at trying to get people housed. So that is one of the things. And then some of you might have participated in the first annual Walk a Mile event that the St. Francis House hosted. That was pretty amazing. I took my 3-year-old and we walked a mile up the street from the 6th Avenue or 6th Street and up to St. Francis House. So just that whole community bonding, and there were people holding up signs with statistics that are local. I don't think people see that very often, and I was watching the faces of people stopping at intersections and reading those signs. So just that awareness piece again. And then finally our memorial service that we do, Rebel Herd with Church on the Street. She's an amazing lady. She's doing great things in our community. Just bringing in awareness and closure to people who have known people who have been homeless and then passed away this year. So just a quiet, reflective moment that we had on Wednesday 2 weeks ago. So just in summary, as 2017 wraps up and this Hunger and Homeless Awareness Month wraps up, the Homeless Advisory Board is diligent. We're out here. We're working hard to try and show best practices and get agency collaboration on board. So that Landlord Risk Mitigation Fund is something. The Sioux Empire Network Care, you've heard about it. It's the thing in regards to trying to get things going in a database system and keeping track of services and providers and people ebbing and flowing. We've talked before about the number of unduplicated individuals experiencing homelessness. I mean, it was over 1,400 last month for the Bishop Dudley unduplicated individuals, but we don't know what that really means in regards to other service providers. So that, but with that then is the state effort, which is being pushed by HUD, which is our coordinated entry system. Very complicated thing, but it's something that's required by the end of January in order to have continued funding for our federal programs. And so as that moves into a statewide concerted effort, you'll see folks in Sioux Falls and across the state trying to get this system up and running. We're creating right now a policies and procedures manual. The homeless management information system is the database system. So from that standpoint, things are chugging along at a snail's pace, but in a very effective manner in regards to the data that we're hoping that we can collect from this, as well as just in general making sure that the agencies that are providing those services are in agreement, that they feel comfortable. I think a lot of times it ends up feeling like they're being pressed to do something, and then the reality is at the end of the day, it's a much better process for people, not only for the service providers, but for the people who are in need of assistance. They don't have to go all over to be able to access that service. It's in a database. They'll know where they are. They'll know where available beds are. They'll know where available units are. So from that perspective, it's the right thing to do. It's just, I think we talked about this 5 years ago, 10 years ago for some of us, and so it's just really exciting to see it coming to fruition. And of course, it lies with funding, but that's not today's conversation, and I'm not making that ask yet either. So I just wanted to touch base with you and share a little bit, because it is getting cold, and we do have people living in their cars. We do have people on the streets. And so just recognizing that the shelters are here, and they just need to reach out a little bit. People who think they can't go back to the shelters with the winter policy in place, you can go back to the Bishop Dudley. You just need to talk to Chad or Maria to get that going. So the options are out there, maybe not to the liking of some or everyone, but what we do have is working. We just need to make sure that people know those services exist and that we're making proper referrals to people so that they're not feeling like they're running all over town and not getting what they need. Thank you.
Commissioner or Councilman Staley.
Well, first of all, Stacy, I want to say thank you for your responsiveness. When I've reached out to you with concerns, you get right back to me. I so appreciate that. I have two questions. In the cold months, do we ever have an instance in Sioux Falls where people are turned away? So that would be the first one. You know, you got someone there, they need to get somewhere, and what happens if everything's full? Second question is, can you list for the public, and for my benefit, all of the facilities we have that a person could go to for an overnight stay?
Sure. The first answer is not easy. I would say that yes, there are people who would get turned away based on their prior behavior. There are some people, I think the list is 9, I talked with Chad at the Bishop Dudley today, that have been trespassed from the Bishop Dudley because of their behavior. So they would not be eligible to go back to the Bishop Dudley at this time. They would then still have options of the Union Gospel Mission, and as always, the county goes on call at 5 o'clock. So if there was someone who was without shelter for the evening, they would need to call the 211 and get a referral, and the county caseworker then would take that call. So, short answer.
Can you just give us an example of what kinds of things would shut the door on someone at the Bishop Dudley house?
Fighting in shelter with another resident or staff. Pretty much violent, aggressive behavior.
Okay.
Pretty much the only thing.
And the Gospel Mission probably doesn't tolerate that either, do they?
No.
I mean, what place would?
So it's ultimately safety for the other guests as well as safety of the staff that are paramount. So if you are going to come in and you are going to be belligerent, keep in mind that your shelter will be at jeopardy then. So it's, again, personal responsibility falls into that. So if you want to show up intoxicated and be belligerent, they'll mostly let you sleep it off. But if you've been trespassed, the law is the law, and you will not be eligible to stay there. And in regards to the others, there are the Union Gospel Mission, which is 8th and Weber, separate facilities for men and women, the Bishop Dudley Hospitality House, 8th and Indiana, and everyone's welcome there. They have family units. They have 7 family units, 80 male beds, 20 female beds. And then the St. Francis House, they're in a little bit of a transitional facility more than a shelter, but Julie and her staff will get you where you need to go. And then, of course, Children's Inn is the domestic violence shelter. So if you're experiencing domestic violence, that's where I would have you go first.
Is the Union Gospel Mission doing anything, warming house? Or I thought I had heard that they were going to be offering something.
The Union Gospel Mission makes the same kind of exception when it's really cold out.
Excuse me, Salvation Army.
Not
Salvation
that I know
Army.
of. I hope that I have not heard that they are opening up their gym again, but I can sure check on that.
Okay.
They shouldn't need it. The Bishop Dudley has capacity to be able to expand as needed for the cold weather. That's the whole purpose of the facility. So,
thank you.
Are there any other questions? Not? Thank you very much.
Councilor
I'm sorry.
Shepherd.
Thank you. I just wanted to add, Stacy, being a relative newbie to the Homeless Advisory Board, I've come to really appreciate all that you do and everyone involved that's involved with this. I mean, the challenges are staggering, to say the least. Everything that's on the plate every month, it's really been quite eye-opening, so I really appreciate what you do. And it's been the first month where I've really taken part in a few of these events, like the Pick 6 this month with all the different events with the Homeless Awareness Month. And I wanted to mention, we took part in that Walk a Mile event too, and I thought it was, enjoyable and eye-opening, but it was well done. And it was a nice day for it, but I mean, it really, again, I always encourage people to kind of look more into this subject. I don't think people really, until you kind of peel back some of the things and take a look at it. You can't really understand everything that's involved, and it really is something, you do a nice job. So I don't really have any questions, just thought I'd give you some kudos because I know it's been a busy month for you, so good job.
Thank you.
All right, anybody else?
Thank you.
Oh, thank you very much. Okay, that takes us to the end of our regular agenda. I'd entertain a motion to adjourn on the county side.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
Motion on the city side, please.
Move to adjourn.
Second, Erpenbach.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Meeting's adjourned.